Start talking about just different ideas. So something I'm noticing in my field right now is taking advantage of pre-existing infrastructure, and that has something to do with the last video with Jordan Peterson, and I wish I had her name. I do. But Jordan Peterson on that podcast, that unbelievable radio host or radio podcast, whatever. Because it kind of speaks to that a little bit, where we need to tap into kind of like this pre-existing infrastructure of ourselves, and I'm just kind of like drawing all these parallels right now, and I'm just trying to build upon that. So I'm just putting those two together. Pre-existing infrastructure is big for things like enhancing internet for Li-Fi, something called Li-Fi. It's internet that uses light, okay? Because they can do some really sophisticated things, like some really sophisticated things with light sensitivity, light sensors for delivering information between devices. And one way to really get this Li-Fi thing off the ground is to take advantage of the pre-existing infrastructure, the current, the light bulbs in your lamp, literally, you know, why not? When it's all based off of light, just attach a device to the whole network, different parts of the network, and deliver information like that, right? So, that's one example. There's a whole lot more. One thing I want to say too, that I know that the new Pokemon games, and I'm saying this as like look at the rest of the world. Look at how the rest of the world is kind of taking note of these phenomena, how they're kind of speaking to it, because there's some wise people. They notice these things and they try to release them to the public in as many forms as possible. Not everyone does so explicitly. Sometimes this is the way we teach our kids. This is the way we teach our kids through the good subliminal content, positive subliminal content. Anyway, Pokemon, the new ones coming out for the Switch, the duality between them. As we've seen before, we've got these dualities between the games, and it's like this versus that, dark versus light, in versus out, or whatever. I don't know. This one is about the old versus the new. The one that's coming out for the Switch. It's about, the theme is old versus new, and it's just a concept of it. It kind of sits. Those are the two kind of opposing concepts of utilizing pre-existing infrastructure. Because utilizing pre-existing infrastructure is kind of like the whole balance, the full balance of the yin and the yang between the new and the old. And I think maybe that'll be like the life lesson of this game, of this Pokemon game. I don't know. It's kind of like a little just prediction. I'm not really going to be a Pokemon content person, but whatever. I don't really play that. I mean, I haven't played the games in a while, but I kind of keep up with it, of course. I just do. I just do. That's weird. Haven't played the games in a while. I mean, anyway, it's just kind of weird. Kind of the same thing with Dragon Ball Z, but I'll get into this shit later. Yeah. The whole thing with the pre-existing infrastructure. I'm going to talk about, he's talking about the body, and like, you should listen to that. That is something that's been growing for some time now, and it's really interesting. I mean, because we sit on top of it. It's like, best thing we can do is listen to it, right? The best thing we can do is listen to it, but I wonder if it's able to recognize that we are listening to it, because it does have this intelligence. It does have this wisdom. I would say wisdom. Now, I want to say wisdom because, I would say, okay, I want to say wisdom, okay? Because wisdom, I think, is about context, maybe, or has a stronger relationship to context than this other thing I want to try to talk about. because look, the universe has a particular science to it. The periodic table works in a certain way. The universe, it has kind of like its own configuration. You know, all the properties and da 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 da. Right. The thing is, mathematics, as much as we use that to describe the universe, it still has to sit within that context. It still has to, you still have to use those configurations within the mathematical equations. Okay. But no, you take that, the math itself, and you can apply that to any set of configurations, and hypothetically come up with maybe different types of life forms or something. So the wisdom we are following is embedded in that context. And I think that, following that path of this organic wisdom can help us tap into greater mathematical truth. And with that greater mathematical truth, perhaps we can, only, with a greater mathematical truth, only then can we break past this context, break past this organic wisdom. Because if let's say we are in a multiverse, right, or we're in a simulation, and this simulation has particular configurations for how the science of this universe works, right? So we are completely dictated by that, and that could be deeply, 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 deeply embedded in us, right? And we can kind of unwind that wisdom all the way back, right? We can carefully unwind it, carefully unwind it all the way back. But once we, have extracted a certain level of mathematical truth from it, it's only that mathematical truth that gives us a chance at exceeding past the boundaries of the simulation. Okay. That's if we were in a simulation, of course. I mean, who knows about that, That's kind of a weird thing, because then you think about consciousness, and then you think about simulation, and then it's just like, well, if you can simulate consciousness, it's a whole nother world of trouble. The thing is, because with consciousness, it seems like the physical information, or the physical way that the information manifests itself, it needs to be within close proximity. You get your head blown off, and that shit's not in proximity. But obviously, that kind of doesn't make any sense, because, well, we are computational systems, and these computational systems can be dispersed across the entire globe. Of course, greater, with this blockchain technology, decentralized technology. So it's like, okay, maybe it's not about proximity. I don't know, man. I got a lot more stuff to explore, but this is going to be my channel for it.